What it do? Welcome to the J-Boy Sports Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you don't love the content, you can still do those things because it's always cool to help a brother out. I will help you out. Trust me. I promise you I would. Make sure that you comment because if you comment, I promise I will get back to you in the comment section. I will reply because I like to speak to people about basketball. Ball is life, right? And make sure you hit that notifications bell so that you do not miss any of the videos that we are putting out to you. Now, with that said, Dwayne Wade recently spoke about the draft being rigged. That's been a big topic of discussion. Why is that? Well, because the Mavericks in the middle of the season, or whenever they did it, they got rid of Luka Doncic. They traded him for Anthony Davis and Max Christie. Some people liked the trade. Most people did not. Me, personally, I was somebody that was like, oh, this might work. This might work. I think AD is a lot better than people give him credit for. I think AD needs to be a stronger winner. And what I mean by stronger winner is he ran over to LA to be with LeBron. Anthony Davis is a generational talent. He should have worked on his own game and tried to figure out how to be a better leader for himself instead of doing all that running around. But that's neither here nor there in this video. But essentially, they got rid of him for Luka Doncic. Then, Kyrie Irving got hurt out of nowhere. Right, so Kyrie gets hurt, tears up his knee, I think it was, and then Anthony Davis is pretty much hurt the whole time that he's there. So he had a couple seasons of good health, and then just didn't have a good season of health this year, unfortunately. And magically, all of a sudden, the Mavericks, who had like a 1 point whatever chance, get the number one pick, and it's obvious that they're probably going to choose Cooper Flagg, who's been, making a lot of headlines. Everybody thinks he's the next best thing. So we'll see with that. But people are starting to sit here and say, hold on a second. Maybe this thing is rigged. And recently, LeBron James went on the Pat McAfee show, and he had even mentioned something about that. He was like, come on, how does this stuff work, And he had a point. I actually, when I listen to LeBron, I personally listen to him with a grain of salt because regardless if you think I'm a hater or anything like that, he does lie a lot. He be lying and exaggerating and stretching the truth, so you got to really listen to what he's saying. But I thought he was 100% correct with what he said on the Pat McAfee show about how, this stuff is magically happening. Like, there is no real rhyme or reason for some of these draft picks. And the recent Mavericks debacle where they traded away Luka Doncic and now magically they get the number one pick who's going to turn into Cooper Flagg. People are like, hold on a second, what's going on with this? So it is interesting. It's an interesting topic for discussion. I've always been somebody that kind of does not go too far into that realm. I just kind of, I just think it kind of happens the way it happens, but more and more people are talking about it, so let's listen to what one of the experts has to say. And by experts, I mean Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade now has ownership stake in the Utah Jazz. He's been around and watched these drafts for the entirety of his career, and now he's past that point also. And based on when I listen to this, I actually align with him, if I'm being honest. I kind of tend to align with him. So let's listen to what Dwayne Wade had to say, and we will go from there. I'll come back and give my thoughts.
Mavs winning the draft lottery. I'm curious, because everyone thinks it's rigged. Oh my gosh, what do you say, Dwayne? What is this, man? What is going on?
It's a business. Now, I'm not saying anyone is doing anything because I'm not a witness in it. But this is a business that we're a part of. And I think people forget that in the competition of sports and what we love because we grow up playing sports and it's not a business when we grow up. But when you're in the NBA, it's a business. And the business has to do its best job to make sure that, it's taken care of. And so I don't know. I'm just saying. I think it was 2008 when I thought we was going to get the number one pick. We ended up getting a number 2 pick. We drafted Mike Beasley. But the Chicago Bulls, just like Dallas, they had a small percentage, and then they end up jumping into the top 4. And in my mind, I said, Derrick Rose is number 1 pick in the draft. The Bulls are going to get first, and the Bulls did. So maybe that's a coincidence. Maybe LeBron going to Cleveland is a coincidence. Maybe these things are. But it's good to talk about.
So, again, that is the great Dwayne Wade, 3-time NBA champion. And essentially, I got to say, I agree with him and everything that he said. I think the NBA is definitely a business. I cannot put my hand on exactly how these things keep happening. Nobody really can. That's why it's all speculation. And we can't really figure out how it's happening, but it's definitely happening. And do I think it's a coincidence? I can't really say that it's a coincidence, but I don't want to go that far off into the conspiracy theorist realm with this because, you know, to me it is what it is. I mean, you still have to be the best basketball player that you can be for those that are getting drafted. So I don't know. I think there may be an in-between world here where there's some type of, you know, 4D, 5D plane that we can't see what's actually happening on, that maybe a scientist made access to and he can go in and play with the numbers, but we can't see it because we don't live in 5D. I don't know. Is it possible? I don't know. I don't know. But it definitely is fishy. You know, he mentioned a few of the things that happened. Derrick Rose, Chicago native, ends up in Chicago. Really? And he, like he said, they had a small percentage. So how exactly did that happen, right? How exactly did that happen? Another thing that happened, obviously LeBron James is one of the most recent ones. Actually, he's not even the most recent, but LeBron James just magically, LeBron magically ends up in Cleveland, where he's from, right? Patrick Ewing magically ends up on the Knicks. You know? That's another one. Zion Williamson magically ends up on New Orleans after they trade away Anthony Davis to the Pelicans. To the Lakers. So he comes in to replace that market, right? It's a lot of weird coincidences that keep happening with these draft picks. So I tend to look at it like Dwayne Wade does. It's still a business. Don't ever forget that. And because of that, it's not just about basketball. So there is a strong possibility that something somehow is pulling these strings and pushing these things in this direction. And I don't really know how to put my finger on it, but it does seem strange that these players get to go to certain places. Victor Wembanyama randomly ends up on the Spurs. The Spurs have been garbage. Greg Popovich's team has been trash. They've not been doing anything, right? But all of a sudden, they get Victor Wembanyama. And this year, I think they're going to have like the second or third pick or something like that. So they are going to have an opportunity to get another really good player. Because there's like 3 or 4 really good players in this draft. The kid at Rutgers, AC, I think is his name. I don't remember. And there's this other kid that I just saw some stuff about that they're thinking is going to be pretty good. So it's very random. And even if the Spurs, for example, don't have the first pick, they're really trying to build up the Spurs team for it to be something so that Victor Wembanyama can take over the NBA. If you don't believe that that's happening, if you don't believe that Adam Silver and those people are trying to get as many pieces to Wemby as they possibly can in the Spurs to take them to the next level, you're blind. You're blind. You're blind, boy. You're blind. Stephon Castle might be the rookie of the year. So they got Stephon, they got Wemby. Somehow De'Aaron Fox got over there. Who did they even trade him for? Who did they trade him for? I don't even remember who they traded. Who did they trade him for? I don't even remember. It doesn't matter. But of course, the pieces are coming to Wemby, and the Spurs are collecting the Infinity Stones as we speak. So there's a lot going on here. It's very interesting. And my final thought is just that I think it's a business. These things look shady. I think there is something to it, but it's good for the league because if you can't prove it, but it's something else to talk about, the league is winning, right? Because all news is good news in business. That's what they say, right? That's what they say. So we're going to leave that right here for this video. What do you think? Do you think that it's rigged? Do you think Dwayne Wade has a point? Do you think it's not rigged? Why or why not? Please make sure you hit it up in the comment section. I will definitely reply. I love to reply to comments and have conversations because ball is life. Please like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our content. And also stick around as the video is ending because there's some other great suggested videos that we know you'll love. Appreciate your time. Very humble. Much love.
That somehow